What is your disability and how do you manage? I'm paralyzed from the waist down due to a spinal cord injury. I manage by conserving my energy for the things that matter most and celebrating my successes while being kind to myself about my failures. ADHD. Medication. And at this point most of my executive function is outsourced to my wife. She's the kind of organized person who keeps a diary with all the family appointments in it anyway. So she includes mine and lets me know about my schedule. Once a year I watch in awe as she does the changing of the diaries. It's like a superpower. She writes appointments in her diary every time. And then she checks it and just knows. My job is to tell her immediately if I make an appointment on my own. And to check with her when would be good if that's an option. I roll my eyes so hard at dudes who make jokes about me being whipped when I get invited to something social and I'm like, let me just check with my wife if I'm free. I am not risking this sweet setup where my life is organized for me by getting in the way of my wife's system. If I mess up by double booking myself by agreeing to go paintballing with friends on the same day of, I don't know, a doctor's appointment, she might make me keep track of my own schedule and I'll be sent back to the hell of being incredibly bad at that I lived in before. No thanks. My wife is kind enough to track my schedule for me. And I show my gratitude by making sure that's easy enough for her to do. Asparagus. I don't. Doctors have tried medication and it just doesn't help me. Trying to get medical cannabis to help with the depression and anxiety that comes from it as that helps a bit. Edit. Asperger's. I have Asperger's, not asparagus. I have a high-frequency hearing loss. I just pretend I heard what you said. Bipolar type 2. Been in and out of mental facilities. Nobody tells you that the worst part is that you may never know you are having a manic episode, but everyone around you does. The ramifications of it is that now I have to walk around second-guessing everything I'm saying, doing before I do it. It's exhausting. I have a bum knee from a car wreck. It gives out from time to time with zero warning. This is the best case scenario. When the accident first happened, there was a 1 in 4 chance I'd lose the leg above the knee. I'm legally blind. It's important to point out that there's a difference between legally blind and completely blind. With correction. Glasses, contact lenses. My vision is 2200ths. 2400ths without. Part of the problem is nystagmus, which makes my eyes move constantly. And there's nothing that can be done about it currently. I don't have too much trouble with it, as it has been this way since birth, so I've had 34 years to figure it out. Can't read things from just about any distance beyond arm's reach. But phones have helped with that in recent years, as I can just take a picture and then zoom in. There are little things, like I get a lot of anxiety meeting people in a crowded place, like a bar, for example, because I won't be able to recognize them from a distance and would have to basically awkwardly walk by every table looking to see if they're who I'm looking for. I just try to arrive early and be the first one there so they have to find me instead. Similarly, finding my way around somewhere new, like when I started university, is extra daunting. I can't drive, which is quite a pain in the ass. Recently I found it even made it harder to find a job in my computer-based field, as for some reason almost every job listing throws "must have a driver's license" at the end. It has also been frustrating throughout various life stages, like dating as a teen once everyone else got their licenses. You want to go to a movie? Great. We'll take the bus. Quote, I live in a smaller city where taking public transit is not the norm, and kind of considered just for poor people who can't afford a car. I obviously disagree. Also, my wife is 38 weeks pregnant, so I'm anxious about not being able to drive her to the hospital in an emergency. Thankfully, my wife and I recently moved into a neighborhood with every conceivable amenity, except a hospital, within a 2 to 20-minute walk, so I can have a lot of independence in running errands. The biggest way I manage, and a lesson it took me a little too long to learn, is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to say, I can't read that menu. What are my options? I can't see very well. Can you direct me to the main office? Quote, I have to pick up something at the store that's too big to carry home. Do you mind giving me a ride? Quote. Edit to add. It's also important to remember that disability, hardship isn't a competition. My grandfather was completely blind, so I always knew I could be in a tougher situation. Yet he never looked for pity and made his living as a car mechanic. On the flip side, if a friend with 20/30ths vision says, I'm so blind without my glasses, it's no fun to play the, you think you have it bad game. Was born with moderate hearing loss in my ears and at age 9, which started to happen months after a car accident. I lost my hearing and started to become severe. So for reference, I used to be able to put headphones on and still be able to hear the song at basically high volume. When I lost my hearing, it got increasingly difficult to even hear the lyrics. At age 12 and 17 got my cochlear implants. And it was crazy the little sounds I had missed that I couldn't really hear with my hearing aids. My favorite, being Canadian, is the sound of hockey sticks on TV. Edit. I manage mostly lip-reading people. I know some sign, but I don't really use it. I can hear words and sentences, but my brain still has difficulty processing information, so I'll miss what is being said unless I focus on the person speaking. So sometimes I have someone rephrase a sentence just because I could not understand a word. Menorrhagia. My periods are so bad I pass out and lose so much blood I have to change every hour, if not more. It literally brings my life to a standstill once a month. Gives me anemia and low blood pressure. I am one of the few women praying for menopause. C6-7 spinal cord injury. Incomplete. 50 to 75% loss of function. Ambulatory. I manage by getting up in the morning and going to sleep in the evening. Pants on one legs at a time, etc. Lol. There is no secret to life. It's all just showing up. PTSD and/or schizophrenia. And I don't. I'm on a heavy dose of antipsychotics that turn my brain to mush. I wouldn't say a disability, compared to many others, but I was born with a partial left limb missing below the elbow. I was born in the 80s and the doctor suggested to my parents I wear a paddle to adjust. My mom said, no, she'll be fine on her own. I can pretty much do anything I've tried except for driving a manual trans or holding a pool stick properly. I'm sure there's more, but those are the ones that come to mind. Oh, and a manual can opener. Gone through more of those than I care to admit due to the way I hold them. Yes, I know there's electric ones, but I refuse to give up the good fight. As I got older, I wish I got a prosthetic for cosmetic reasons because the staring would get to me. It took RRSSS, but I somehow managed not to pay so much attention to it. A good support system has always helped me. No one treats me any different and they allow me to vent without judgment on the days that it does get to me. Edit. For the record, I wish I was born with 2 hands. I'm in remission from stage 3C testicular cancer with lung metastasis. I've had 10% of my right lung removed, right testicle removed, and I've had at least 40 doses of potent chemo. Basically, I try not to dwell on the experience and view it in a positive manner and build off of the experience. I have diabetes and I really don't. I don't have the resources to eat healthy. I'm scared of dying because of it and having organ failure in the future. Hopefully as I go into college and become an adult I can be healthier. I have osteogenesis imperfecta type 3/4. Doctors can't agree on which type. If you don't know what that is you can Google it, but an overly simple explanation is my bones are like glass. Take IVs every 6 months to help my bones keep their strength. Have had 14 rotating surgeries in almost all my main limbs. I try and stay away from places I know can be a threat. Any ball games or difficult manual labor. Keep my phone or someone with a phone with me 24/7 in case an ambulance is needed. I have a fracture kit on hand in case something happens. My house isn't completely accessible so need help in a few areas. But I stay on one floor. Have a stair lift, bath lift, etc. I have a wheelchair for inside my house which is a manual one. And a power one I use for outside and around town. I see a psychologist who deals with disabled youth to keep my mental health in check every 2 weeks. I'm learning to just leave all the ableist people in my life behind and only interact with them if needed. It's a process. But I think I manage everything well enough. ADHD, OCD. The ADHD is very debilitating and pretty much rules my entire life. I have executive dysfunction to the point where I won't get out of bed or make lunch because I can't convince myself to do it. I have issues with short-term memory. I find it hard to talk to people and listen because I can't stop my own internal dialogue drowning the person out. I get overwhelmed and emotional very easily. I experience sensory issues and I will often hyper-focus on useless or stupid things and lose complete track of time. I take Adderall, which definitely helps me focus, remember things, and be more in control of my executive dysfunction. But there's really no helping some of the other things. As for OCD, it's PRWTTY, much uncontrolled. The cause is currently undiagnosed, but I have premature arthritis. Like I'm not even 30 yet and already have an insane amount of degradation in my spine, hands, and feet. I have an array of lab work to get done just this week actually. In order to find the cause, I dissociate a lot. It numbs the pain for a little bit. Separating myself from my body is the closest thing I have to feeling healthy. Heat makes it feel slightly more bearable, so I moved where it's hot all the time and use heating pads. However, I haven't found a solution that leaves me without pain even for a day. Was in a car crash at age 14. Spent 7 days in a coma. Damaged my frontal lobes, which are responsible for seeing the consequences of your actions. I used to get so mad and blurt out such dumb stuff. And make so many bad decisions. I'm 32 now. In the last few years I have realized how much of a lunatic I used to be. So I guess I am recovering. And I try to be very nice and polite to people. I'm almost totally blind. I manage because I have to. Even though it's really hard some days. I've been like this my whole life, so don't know what I'm missing out on. The world isn't made for people like me, but the best we can do is make it work. Somehow. I don't have a physical disability. And this might not be as legitimate as the other disabilities here. But I've had unbearable anxiety for about 20 years. I had a severe anxiety attack in 2019 that took me to the hospital. It was the worst I've ever had. I couldn't breathe because I felt like something was sitting on me. My vision started going out. And my hands were trembling non-stop. I also had a weird out-of-body experience that made me feel like I was observing all of this from outside my body. I also couldn't stop pacing around. That was a bad day. When I was in college, I had such bad anxiety during finals one semester that I couldn't fall asleep for 3 days. I was on and off Paxil. But I hates how it made me feel. I've also had days when I get anxious because I'm not anxious. I worry because my brain thinks I am overlooking something important and I just don't know what it is. After my hospital visit, I started seeing a psychiatrist and I got on a medication that works better for me. My anxiety has been more manageable since then.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.